Hey boys and girls, this is Mrs. Lindsay. We are still in Unit R, but we're in Week 5. And today we're going to talk about plot. Plot. The plot is what happens in the beginning, middle, and the end of the story. There is a problem and a solution in the story that is also part of the plot. And then you can see the beginning. She's going into the school. In the middle, she's playing hopscotch at school, probably during recess. And at the end, she's going home. So the beginning, middle, and end is plot. Listen to the story as I read early for school. Jason liked school a lot, but he was often late. Today, he had spent too much time daydreaming over breakfast until Mom told him what time it was. Luckily, Jason lived only a block from school. He ran down the block, walked quickly through the large school doors, and hurried down the long hall to his classroom. He tiptoed quietly in and took his seat. "Good morning, Jason," said his teacher, Miss Parsons. "I was just introducing our new student, Peter Rogers, to the class. Peter and his family moved here from another state, and it turns out he lives on your block. So perhaps after school, you and Peter can walk home together." "Sure, Miss Parsons," said Jason. "It's nice to meet you, Peter." Jason was a very polite boy. Peter smiled and said thanks, and then the class took out their reading books and started working. During the day, Jason showed Peter where to find things. He showed his new classmate the library area. He showed him where the pencils and crayons were kept, and the chart that listed the class jobs. After lunch, they played ball on the playground. At the end of the day, Jason and Peter walked home together. They had a lot to talk about. Jason liked his new friend, and Peter felt the same way. The boys reached Jason's house, but they said goodbye. They made a plan to meet the next morning to walk to school together. "I'll ring your doorbell early tomorrow so we can take our time," said Peter. "That sounds great," said Jason. "I'll be ready." And he was. When I read, I pay attention to the events of the story. I read to find out what the problem is in the story will be. Then I read to find out how the characters solve the problem. I want to know what happens in the beginning, the middle, and the end. At the beginning of the story, early for school, I read that Jason is late to school. That sounds like a problem to me. The plot of the story is what happens at the beginning. And at the end of the story, the plot of a story is what happens at the beginning, middle, and end of the story. The plot explains the problem in the story and the solution to the problem, which means how the problem is solved. Good readers pay attention to the plot because it helps them understand what is happening in the story. Readers understand a story best when they know the problem in the story and understand the solution to the problem. So at the end of the day, Jason and Peter walked home together. So the boys reached Jason's house first, but they said goodbye, and they made a plan to meet the next morning. Maybe the problem was solved because Peter is going to help Jason be on time. Because at the end it said, "I'll ring your doorbell early tomorrow so we can take our time," said Peter. "That sounds great," said Jason. "I'll be ready." And he was. So at the end, it said Jason was ready. So if Peter rang the doorbell early, they were there on time at school. So Jason making friends with Peter solved the problem. I hope you enjoyed the story early for school. This concludes the comprehension section for Day 1, Unit R, Week 5, Day 1. Thank you.